Welcome back to my YouTube channel, guys. My name is Glory Elijah and this is Frankly Speaking with Glory. This is the girl with the tea. This morning is looking really bright. This morning is looking very optimistic and I am feeling very positive about today. So on this video, it's going to be a continuation of my Lagos apartment journey. I told you guys I was going to be sharing every single thing with you guys bit by bit, especially focusing on major tips on how not to go through the hurdles that I went through, you know, to get apartments, settle down, and then move out again. All those crazy stuff that happened, they are actually avoidable, okay? And that's why I'm making all these videos, to help a lot of you who have been asking, oh Glory, what happened? Give us tips. We are also looking forward to rent an apartment. So this is that video. I'm going to be giving you guys the major tips, or better still, you can call it your apartment hunt checklist. So I had to create this checklist, and this is how I folded it and put it inside my purse all through the period I was going for inspections, you know, hunting for apartments. I basically wrote this checklist. I folded it this way and I put it inside my handbag, and every time I go look at an apartment, I would bring it out, and if I find myself getting overly excited about the place, I would just bring out the checklist and start checking that, okay, are all these things in place in that apartment, okay? And these were sort of like a yardstick for me to rate the apartment, okay? And it really worked for me. At some point I had to memorize everything, so I didn't even have to bring out the list anymore from my purse. Watch to the end of this video, guys, as I share everything with you. You might find one or two things helpful. Now on this list I have 7 different items, okay, each of which are very important in your journey to getting the perfect apartment for yourself wherever you reside in Nigeria. As I keep on saying, I do not know about how things are done in other parts of the world, but in Nigeria I feel like these are very necessary factors that you should not overlook. Now the first thing on this list is, who is your agent? That's the first question you should ask yourself. How well do you know your agent? Guys, let me just break this to you, yeah? It is not every single human being that tells you that, oh, I know the landlord of this place, I have the contact to an agent, you know, that can, or I have the contact to a landlord that will give you an apartment. It is not everybody that says that is actually an agent. Some agents are just what they call the least agent. Guys, it was during this 2 months of hunting for an apartment that I discovered that there are different tiers, different levels to how this agent thing works. Except an agent is registered with an established real estate agency, yeah, guys, trust me, it's a long thing. I'll give you a for instance now. There's the landlord, then there's the agent whom the landlord put the property in his or her care, okay? Now in the world of agents, they call that particular agent either the principal agent or the mandate. Now this mandate is the one that actually has direct access to the landlord. So another example that will help you get this clear is when you move around and you see on properties, on certain properties, where you see where they put a banner. On the banner they write to let or for sale, and then they put certain numbers. The numbers you see on that banner is the number of the actual principal agent or the mandate that has direct access to the landlord or the owner of the property. Whether it's a company, whether it's an individual, it is that particular mandate that has direct access to the owner of the property. Any other agent that his or her number is not on that banner is just what they call a primary agent, or a low-level agent, or a sub-tier agent, just very lowest of the lowest of the lowest. That person can only help you talk to the person that has access to the mandate. It is only the mandate that can finally help you seal the deal with the owner of the property. Now it took me after several disappointments for me to actually understand how this thing works, and by the time I understood it, I was just so upset with myself. But then I had to tell myself, Glory, this is a learning curve for you. You don't have to beat yourself over it. Guys, You need to understand, the moment you decide you want to start hunting for another apartment wherever you are, you need to make it a point of duty to interrogate the agent, whoever your agent is. Ask the person, do you have direct access to the landlord? Are you the mandate? Are you the principal agent? Because if you do not know this information, some agents, sometimes you could fall into the wrong hands. Some agents might even lie to you and tell you that, oh, you have to pay your rent. That is if it comes to the part where you have to now take the apartment, when you decide to take the apartment. Some agents will tell you that, oh, you pay the rent to my account. You pay it to me, rent and service charge, you pay agency fee, you pay legal fee, you pay everything to my account. I will now transfer it to the landlord. Guys, please do not ever make that mistake. And that's why I said, who is your agent? You need to know your agent. You need to do your own research about the person. You need to ask the person if the person is registered with a company, or if the person is a company or a registered agent. And if push comes to shove, that you now finally decide you want to take the property, don't ever pay your rent and whatsoever into the personal account details, or into the personal account rather of the agent. Guys, rather ask for the account details of the owner of the property. It is usually or okay, maybe not usually, it is 90% of the time a business account, a company account. It is only very few property owners, let's say like all these retired older persons who are just depending on the income they get from, or the revenue they make from the rentage of their properties. Yeah, it is only those few people that actually would want you to pay your rent or all your bills to their personal account. But most of the time, properties these days have gone beyond people paying into personal accounts. So guys, please don't fall into that mistake. The next and most important thing that you cannot overlook on your checklist is your landlord. The question you should be asking yourself and even the agent that took you to that property is, who is the landlord? Guys, if push comes to shove and you finally decide that, okay, this is the apartment I want to settle for, guys, you need to ensure that you meet the landlord. Now, these days, there are different kinds of landlords, okay? We have the individual landlord. We have the landlord who's like a family, yeah, maybe a group of a family. We have the landlord that's probably a company, okay? Now, in that kind of situation, the actual owner of the property is probably not available, probably not on ground, probably not in the country to handle the affairs of the property by themselves. So what they usually do is they sign over power, is it power of attorney they call it? Guys, let me know if I'm correct in the comment section. They sign that over, like the power, to a management company, okay, to actually handle the affairs, collection of rents, collection of services, provision of services, and everything, you know, everything regarding the maintenance of that property. They actually usually sign everything over to the company to do it for them, okay? And guys, if you omit all this information, if you're not aware, if you're not enlightened about all these things, sometimes you might just blindly walk into a trap, and it could be a crazy, deadly trap for you. So this is very important. Another reason why you need to actually understand or even know who your landlord is you need to have a conversation with your landlord. If you cannot meet your landlord face to face because sometimes they might be abroad, at least the phone call, you should be able to have a conversation with your landlord. You need to hear them talk. There's something about psychology of talking with people. When you talk with people, sometimes you can decipher their personality. You can decipher how they think. You know, just like a 5-minute conversation can sometimes open up your eyes or your senses, your sensitivity to who is this person, how does this person think, how does this person function, you know, that kind of thing. So you need to know your landlord and possibly have a conversation with your landlord. If you cannot meet with them physically, you need to be able to have a phone conversation with them. That is on a case where they are your direct landlord, if they've not handed over the maintenance of the property to a company, okay? Another question you should ask is about bills, increments, rules, policies, protocols of the property. Sometimes the best person to explain all of these to you is the landlord. Most times agents give you the impression that they know what's up on the property. Sometimes they give you the impression that they know the landlord's mind. Sometimes they give you the impression they know what the landlord wants. Guys, some landlords are very, very specific about what they want. It was in the course of me searching for an apartment that I discovered that some landlords have specifics of the kind of tenants that they want. Some landlords will specifically tell the agents that, hey, I want male or I want female. They will tell you, I want a Yoruba, or I want a Hausa, or I want somebody that is Nigerian, or I don't want a Nigerian. Some landlords will say, oh, I want what do they call it? I want a working class male, or I want a family. I don't want a single man. Guys, I'm going to do an entirely different video on all of those biases that comes with what landlords want. You know, just some annoying, crazy biases that I also went through. I'll do that on an entirely different video. But when I say you need to know your landlord, you need to understand the policies of the property. You need to understand the rules and regulations. That's before you make payment too. Hey guys, I'm emphasizing on before you make payment because most of these things, the moment you make payment, there are some rules that you now get to hear of, and they might not go with your own standards. At the end of the day, you are trapped. And guys, let me tell you one crazy, annoying but realistic rule about renting a place in Lagos, Nigeria. The moment you decide to take an apartment and you pay for the apartment, remember, you cannot take an apartment without even paying your agency fee, except you meet the right people who are God-fearing. So the moment you pay your rent, you pay your service charge, you must pay your legal fee and your agency fee. I explained all of that to you on the previous video. Please go ahead and watch it if you missed out on that. Now, if something wrong now happens, let's say you pay today and the next day you now find out some things you don't like about the property, and then you now start telling the agent that, no, I don't want this property anymore, I need a refund of my money. Guys, even though it's just 24 hours, trust me, you're not going to get back your agency fee. As crazy as it sounds, that is the deal in Lagos. I don't know about any other part of Nigeria, but in Lagos, even though it's just 24 hours, it's like you going to the market and you buy a phone from Computer Village, Ikeja Computer Village, yeah? The moment you leave that place with that phone, even though it's 1 hour later or 5 hours later, and you want to take back that phone to go and say, oh, I just discovered something happened to the phone, I want to get back my money. Guys, they're not going to give you a refund. For them, you've just stepped out with that phone. You've gone outside their premises. In their mind, they don't know what you've gone to do with the phone. They will not take it back. That is how crazy it is in renting an apartment or buying a property. The moment you've paid your rent, service charge, you've paid legal fee, agency fee, caution fee, everything, and in 24 hours you change your mind that, oh, you don't want that property anymore, I'm sorry, you might possibly get your refund on every other thing, but you see that agency fee, you will not get it back. You see that legal fee, 90% of the time you will not get it back. How is the environment of the place you are looking forward to residing? This one, hey guys, your environment has a crazy way of influencing your stay in whatever apartment you choose to go for. When I talk about environment, I'm not just talking about the outside, the external environment. I'm also talking, in fact, your environment starts from inside your apartment, and then it extends to the property, the premises of the property itself, and then it extends to your street, and then it extends to that locality that you live. But first and foremost, it is, you know, your space, inside your space. How is the environment? Let me see some of the things that I jotted down. Okay, I said look around for clusters, for rowdiness, for crowdiness. This is something that I personally do not like. I cannot stay in an environment that is too clustered. I've told you guys my story. I grew up in the slums of Lagos in Ajegunle, so I've had enough of clusters in my life. Okay, so I have always told myself that now in my adult years, God help me and bless me. You see anything called clusters, I run away from it like it's a plague. So if you're one of those people that do not like clusters, you definitely need to do some secret investigations of your own to find out if that environment is going to be conducive for you on the long run or not. And I'll tell you how. Another thing is you need to check for noise in and around the house. Guys, I'll tell you how I did that for myself. Another thing is you need to check for violence. You need to check for cleanliness. Does that environment have the tendency for violence? Violence could come from the external environment. It could come from your neighbors. And when people talk about violence, they think violence is all about physical violence, somebody punching you or somebody fighting you. No. There could be emotional violence. There could be mental violence. That's the way I saw it. There could be psychological violence. Anything that disturbs your peace automatically, guys, is violence. Violence could be innate in your landlord. Violence could be even in your own self. So, does that environment have the tendency to trigger you to go crazy? Does it have the tendency to trigger you to lose your sanity? You need to check out for all those things. You need to also check out for the security of the neighborhood, of the property that you're going to be residing on. How did I check all these things, guys? Now, during the day, when I go for inspection, for house hunting with different agents, and guys, by the way, if I open my phone book for you, I have the phone contact of over 50 agents. I swear to God, I'm not even kidding you. And I have a reason for doing that I'm going to share with you before this video ends. Now, as I said, during the daytime, I start off going for apartment hunting from about sometimes 9 a.m., sometimes 10 a.m. in the morning. And then I finish hunting for apartments by 7 p.m. in the evening. Yes, guys, it was like a full-time job. And the reason for that is because I do not have a car of my own, and also because of traffic in Lagos. So I sometimes have to hire a cab that will take me around for the whole day and pay them, or I have to hop from taxi to taxi. Sometimes an agent will give you an appointment and they will not meet up, and then I have to do my own personal things, and then everything was just mixed up. Now, after doing all of those runs during the day, in the evenings from 8 p.m., if I see an apartment that I like and I feel this apartment has the potential of being the place I would finally want to settle down in, what I would now do is from 8 p.m. in the evening, I will wear my undercover clothes like black and black. I'll wear my sneakers. I'll hire a cab, and then I will go back to that same apartment and I will go around. I'll just tell the driver to drive around the apartment. And then after driving around, I'll just be looking around, observing things. Because guys, let's be honest, during the day, you will not really notice much around an environment. It is at night that the true colors of the environment comes out. Why? Because that is where most of the tenants will be back from their daily hustles. They'll be around, they'll be at home. So you can actually see people in their natural elements at night. Now, the fun fact is sometimes going around those environments at night, I will not even see the tenants. There are some estates itself that I cannot even enter. I'm talking about the ones that I might be able to have access to, okay? And then one important thing that I always do is during the day, when I go to inspect apartments, I try to be very, very cool and nice to the security man. Sometimes I tip the security man if I know I'm coming back. There's some apartments that I see and I tell myself, no, Glory, you're not coming back here. You're not going to stay here. There's some apartments that I see that I like, and because I have the intention of coming back to do my investigations on my own without the agent, because when the agent is with you, they would say a lot of sugar things. They will sugarcoat the old deal. They will say a lot of things. They will even, discovered that they even tell the security man things to say to you. So if you ask the security man, how is the environment? Madam, this place nice, oh, this place good, oh, you go enjoy your stay here. No wahala at all. You see those security men that will blab. Those are the properties you should run away from, because that's where there's a lot of problems. So what I usually do is when I go inspection during the day, I tip those security men that I know that I will potentially come back later on to come and do more findings about the place if I am interested. So when I go back at night, I will calm down, and then I will now start investigating, asking the security men questions. Now, this particular apartment I saw at Ikate, Lekki Peninsula, I loved that apartment. It was a 3-bedroom upstairs, and I love upstairs. Very, very amazing space, very massive, and it has a jacuzzi, bathtub. It was like a dream home for me. The chandelier in that room was mad. I was already calculating, how am I going to put this, put that. It had a balcony too, in fact. And then during the day, the place was like heaven. And then I went there at night. Okay, when I went there, I saw a lot of generators, and then I'm like, nah, Glory, you have to come back here. So I went back in the evening. I was cool with the security guy during the day, and when he saw me, I even saw another police officer that was standing as guard at the place. And then I spoke with the man. The man understood my plight. I explained to him why I was doing what I was doing, that hey, I love this space, but I am coming from a place that has played with my sanity. I don't want to fall into that trap again. Please help me. This man took me into the apartment, and guys, generator noise. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. The noise in that place was times 10 where I was about to leave. And that was because the person, they didn't have a proper generator house. They had like 5 generators at the gate. Meanwhile, the agent had told me that there are only 2 tenants in the compound. When I went there that night, the man told me that there are 5. But 2 of the tenants each had 2 generators. Guys, the person downstairs had a generator behind the bedroom of the apartment upstairs that I wanted to pay for. And that apartment was like times 2 more expensive than where I was actually living at that time. Guys, before I left that place, I had to dash the police officer money. I said, Oga, God bless you. You just saved me another headache. Another wahala. You just saved me. That was how I ran away from that apartment. The agent kept on calling me, you should take that place, so that place is hot cake. You would like that place. Guys, I jackba. I said, people want to kill me for my mother. It will not work. I ran. But that was because I did my due diligence. And that was not the only property that I did that for. There were so many properties that I went around checking. There was this one that was beautiful, amazing. And then I went in the evening as per usual. And I'm sorry, guys, not to sound like I'm discriminating against my fellow humans, but I saw a lot of street girls hanging on the road, selling their market. When I say market, you understand what I mean. I saw a lot of guys, they were on the street. Guys, I was scared. As I said, I do not like clustered environments, but I saw a lot of that. And it scared me. I had to crawl back into my shell. Because sometimes there are days that I decide I want to have fun, and then I go out and I hang out with my friends, and then I'm coming back by 4 a.m. in the morning. How am I going to enter inside my house? Guys, that was how I ran off. So as I said, it's very, very important that you guys do your own due diligence. You can choose to go view apartments you like during the day, but if you're very much interested in any particular apartment, make sure you go back there much later in the evening without the agent. Establish a very, very friendly relationship with the security person of the apartment, and if possible, guys, also meet with the tenant. And that's what brings me to my next point. Now, I'm going to ask some follow-up questions, and then I'll inform you as to the reason why you should know who your tenants are. What do your tenants do? How many are they in the compound? How do they reason? Have conversations with them. Ask the tenant about the landlord. Ask the tenant about the property manager if they have any. Ask the tenant about the conditions of the house. Now, guys, in my previous apartment, this was the biggest mistake I made. I saw an apartment, I liked it, I loved it, I moved in. I did not see any tenant at all. Remember, I was told that there were only, was it 4 tenants or 5 tenants? And then I discovered there were 7, okay? I made all those mistakes. It was by the time I had already moved in that I started seeing the tenants one after the other. And me now, I'm not that kind of person that when I move into a property, I want to start fraternizing with all my neighbors. I'm a very, very private person. I like keeping to myself. I'm very friendly and outgoing, but you won't see me going into my neighbor's house, go and sit down, watch TV and drink juice. No, I don't do all of that. I wasn't raised that way. That's how my parents raised us. We're always in our own house. We say hello, hello, but then when we enter our house, that's it. So I grew up with that kind of mentality. But then I realized that kind of mentality, I've shifted it a bit if I wanted the right information. Now, what I mean is this. When I saw that property, I should have, before making payment, I should have gone back there much later by myself to observe the environment. I should have gone back there much later to meet with the tenant, converse with them. Firstly, to know the sort of people they are. Secondly, to find out if they have very, very good relationships with the landlord. Also, to find out if the landlord is a reasonable person or if the tenants are even reasonable people. Not like now you have sense, Paso. But you just want to know if you're going to be moving in and staying with reasonable. Because remember, guys, it's for 1 year first. So if your tenants are not reasonable people, if your tenants are crazy people, if your tenants are into XYZ kind of businesses, then you're going to have a lot of problems. You're going to have a lot of problems. And guys, that was what I did not do. That was what I did not see on time. I did not know that there were some people in that property that they were like this. And guys, it just completely messed up my stay in that house. So you need to have conversations with your your fellow potential neighbors. As I said, you need to know how many people live in that compound. You need to know if it's a crowded place, especially for people like me who do not like clustered environment. Secondly, you need to converse with them to find out how they reason, if they are reasonable people. You need to ask them about the landlord, because when you meet the landlord eventually, the landlord will give you the impression of what he or she wants you to see or know about them. But the person who has been living in that house might have a stronger, a stronger opinion about the landlord. Why? Because they have lived there longer than you. So you need that kind of information. You also need to converse with your fellow potential neighbors, so that you find out if they are enjoying the services that they have paid for in that property. It was after I had moved into that other property and I was going through all those issues that when we now finally had a meeting as neighbors, they now started saying that that all these problems I'm complaining about, they had been facing it for the past 1 year. And these people have been living there for over 1 year. They are even renewing their second year rent. And I'm like, how have you people been coping? What stopped you from moving out? And they're like, they've gone around and they've seen that houses around on the island are very expensive right now. Some of them, they don't even care. Some of them are even indifferent. So I'm just like, okay, birds of the same feather flock together. No wonder people can actually get along. Me, I cannot live in a madhouse and lose my sanity again. And the fourth and very, very important thing that you also need to take into consideration to check is who is the security personnel. You need to have a conversation with the person to psychoanalyze the person. If I catch that fly, you're dead. You need to have a conversation with that person and psychoanalyze that person. That way, you will find out if your security man has sense or not. I'm sorry to say, guys, but some security men who are not directly employed from some companies, I'm sorry, but they are not really rational like that. Don't expect too much from them. Some of them, they are just young boys that they brought from the village. They're not really exposed about life in the urban areas, so they come with that mentality of, oh, if a female is my madam in the compound, my madam cannot talk to me and I listen. My madam will not greet my madam in the morning. For me, greeting in the morning, all those things, they don't really count. I'm not even bothered, because most of the time when I live in a property, my security man would rarely even see my face. Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes, but sometimes there are some security people that would actually rub it in your face. Like, if you even call them to make inquiries about something on the facility, their attitude can be crazy. So you need to find out about that kind of thing. And if you find out that those people are nursing some sort of microaggressions towards the female gender, then you need to make those, points of notices to actually communicate with the owner of the property or the management of the property, because you will not be safe if you're a female. There are some security personnel that are very, very egoistic, very, very misogynistic. So those are things that you need to understand. Some of these security men, they carry so many anger and frustrations, and then they transfer those aggressions on the female tenants. That is one very, very important thing. Remember, your security man is the one securing your properties, and sorry to say, but your life. God secures your life, but on earth, your security man is also securing your life. So if he is nursing some major or minor aggressions, that is something you should check. Another important thing, or maybe I should just marry them together, is the water of the place and the electricity provision, the light of the place. Guys, the water is very, very important. Water is life. Find out if you can survive without water for 1 whole day. If there's no water in your facility, you will want to lose your mind. So you need to check the water. Is the water clean? And if you've paid for that, you need to ensure, or if you're about to pay for that, you need to ensure that you find out from your potential neighbors, if the water is being treated. Otherwise, your face is going to be as rough as mine. My face was very, very rough, but thank God it's getting better. It's a slow process, but it's getting better. So that's something you should find out about. You need to also find out, you know, about the electricity provision. Guys, I have promised myself that for every facility that I'm going to live in, as per rentage, I must have my own personal prepaid meter so that I will be able to control my electricity consumption. I should be able to buy my own units and control my usage. That is in Nigeria. I don't know how it is done abroad, as I always say. Guys, that's something you should also check. In the previous apartment, there was only one meter and all 7 of us were connected to that meter, you know, so it was a tug of war for the landlady to even recharge the meter. It was crazy. So thankfully, this new place where I am right now, I have my own prepaid meter, so I can decide whenever, however I want to, you know, recharge electricity. I can even decide to turn off my meter if I decide to travel and then come back. That's one of the perks of knowing all these things and doing your own due diligence. One final thing to note, please find out where the generator house is. Most of the houses that they build in Nigeria, some of them, you will see a very, very beautiful building, beautiful property, beautiful apartment, but before you find out, the generator house is possibly behind your bedroom window, or in front of your living room, or just beside your apartment, or as I see most of the time on the mainland, it is right behind your window. So when you turn on the generator, the noise, the fume, the smoke, everything is entering your room. Guys, those things are not healthy. People don't even know. People have now normalized it. Guys, it's not healthy. It could cause lung cancer. It could block your lungs. It could block and restrict your airflow. It go choke, as they say. Guys, I'm laughing about these things because these were things I actually went through, but they are serious. They are hazards. You need to check all these things before you make payment for any apartment, any property at all, any apartment you want to move into. Guys, please do not make the mistakes that I made. If anybody told me all these things, if anybody taught me how to create this checklist, guys, I probably would not, all those things would have been avoided. So please, let's do our due diligence, okay? I'm really, really sorry that this video is this long. I decided that today is that day I need to pour everything all out, because a lot of you kept on still sending me messages that, oh Glory, we're waiting for that particular video. This is the video, guys. Please, if you agree with everything I said, let me know in the comment section below. If you can relate with all the points I raised, please let me know in the comment section as well. If there are other things that you want to add to my checklist, guys, for the benefit of those that actually need it, please drop it all down in the comment section below and I will respond to your comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you on another episode of Frankly Speaking with Glory. Have an amazing day. Bye.